Hello, I'm Danielle Chauvet. Welcome to Knitting Nicely. Okay, so today we're going to learn the faux chevron stitch. I call it a faux chevron because it's not really a chevron. The stitches aren't really going this way. It's just an illusion that the stitches are going that way because of the way that we do the pattern of knitted stitches and purl stitches. This is a 4-row repeat pattern. That means we do 4 rows and we repeat them over and over again. And it also is a 22 stitch plus 9 repeat. So for this, I've done 2 22 stitch repeats plus 9. So if you can see at the beginning of my work, I've got 4 knitted stitches to get the garter edge. And at the end of the row, I've got 4 more knitted stitches to make the garter look on the other side. So 4 plus 4 is 8. And then we also need to add this one because that's not part of the repeat that happens. So we've got this is a repeat. That's 22 stitches. And then this is another repeat of 22 stitches. And then add that one in plus the 4 on each side is 9. So I've got a two 22 stitch repeat plus 9. But you can do however many 22 stitch repeats you want, depending on how wide you want your work to be. This would actually be a great 12-inch square if I wanted to make it as part of a patchwork quilt. I would just make sure that I would make the length of it the same as the width. Okay, so here we go. Let's learn how to do this faux chevron stitch pattern. Here we go. The first 4 stitches on every row will be a knitted stitch. So let's do those first 4. That's 1. Get my work in the middle here so you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then as you can see, and you won't be able to see it right away when you're all the way down here, you won't see this yet obviously, but as you start working you'll begin to see this little cute braid that's going on here, and that's created by doing a slip stitch on the front and then purling it on the back. So let's do that here. We're going to hold our working yarn in the back, and we're going to just slip that stitch over to the right needle. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do 2 knitted stitches. 1, 2, and then 2 purl stitches, then 2 knitted stitches, and then 2 purl stitches, and then 2 knitted stitches. Okay, so we did 2 knit, 2 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl, 2 knit. Then we're going to do another slip stitch. Hold your working yarn in the back, slip it over to the other needle. We don't work that stitch on the front side. It's just slipped. Okay, and now we're just going to repeat that knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, all the way down our row. Okay, so knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, and then we do a slip stitch. And again, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, and then a slip stitch. One more time. Knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, and a knit 2, and then a slip stitch. Now we're back with the 4 stitches that are left on our needle, and we always knit those in this pattern. Always knit the last 4 and the first 4. Okay, now we're going to turn our work and we're going to do the other side. This is the wrong side. You can't see the cute little braid that goes up because that's the wrong side. You won't be able to see which side is the wrong side at first, so you just have to remember for the first few rows which side you're on. But we always do 4 knitted stitches at the beginning of each row. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, as you can see here, there's a little bar that's right here. That's where we slipped this stitch and that's our visual cue that we need to purl this since it was slipped on the other side. And I'll turn the work over so you can kind of see it. See, those are the slipped stitches. So we're going to purl that one. And then this is where making sure that you know how to read your work comes in really handy, okay? Because we know that we want this part of the work to angle the chevron this way, okay? So we know that we need to move, the next row needs to have purl bumps here and here, since this row had the purl bumps here and here. Okay, so that means if these two are purl, then that means this one needs to be knit. So we're going to do that. So we're going to knit one, and then we're going to purl two. And then we're just going to do two of each. Two knit, two purl, two knit, and here we come to the next bar. See that little bar that goes across? That means that's the slipped stitch from the other side. Okay, that means that one's going to be purled. So we just did two knit stitches, but we don't do two purl stitches. We do one purl stitch, then we do the purl stitch for this slip stitch, and then we look at our work and do a mirror on this side from what we did on this side of that purl stitch, that slipped stitch. Okay, so we are going to do, since we did a purl here and then two knit, we're going to do a purl here and then two knit. So we do one purl, then two knit, and then two purls and two knits. All right, so then this is the little bar to give us a visual cue that we need to purl this one. So we've got two purls, and our next stitch is going to be a knit stitch. Okay, and then we're going to do that slip stitch as a purl, and then we're going to mirror what we did on this side over to this side. So that was a knit, and then we have two purls, so let's do that. Knit, and then two purls, and then we'll continue our knit two, purl two, knit two, and here's our visual cue that this needs to be a purl. So we'll purl this one, and then that's the slip stitch that we need to purl. Now we're going to mirror this side, so that's a purl and then two knit. So let's do that on this side. There's a purl and then two knit, and then two purl and then two knit, and then two purl. And here's our visual cue again. It's always important to be looking at your work so you know what it's supposed to look like and where you are in your pattern. Here's our little bar. So we just did two purls. We're just going to do one knit, and then we're going to purl that slipped stitch, and we're at the end of our row. I'm going to do 4 knits. Okay, so you finished your second row of your 4-row repeat. Now it's time to turn your work over to the right side, and we're going to do row 3. Alrighty, so our first 4 stitches are knit stitches again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And here's where we slip our stitch. Slipped. And now we're going to look at our work again to see where we're supposed to go. Okay, so I've got 2 bumps here, and I've got 2 knits here, and I want my chevron to be angled this way. So I know that these 2 need to be purls, these 2 need to be knits, 2 purls, and so on. You see, because this one's a purl and this one's a knit right now. So to move it over one, we're going to do purl, purl. Okay, so we're going to do purl, purl, knit, knit, purl, purl, knit, knit, purl, purl. And here we are at our slip stitch. So let's slip stitch that one. Now remember, we're mirroring, but because the mirror is the same, it starts with 2 purls, just like we started with 2 purls here. We're basically just doing the same thing again. So 2 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl. So we're just going to do that all the way down. 2 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl, and a slip stitch. Okay, so we already did our slip stitch. We're going to do 2 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl, and 2 knit, and 2 purl, and then a slip stitch. Again, let's do 2 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl, and then a slip stitch. One more time. 2 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl, and one more slip stitch, and we're back to the 4 knitted stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alrighty, now you only have 1 row left. Row number 4. Here we go. Row 4. Knit those first 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is the back of our work, so we're going to keep an eye out for that bar that happens, so we know that we're supposed to purl it, because that's the slip stitch. So we're purling that stitch. Now we're going to look at our work to see what we're supposed to do first. We've got 2 purl bumps here. That means these 2 need to be purl, which means these 2 need to be knit, which means this one needs to be purl. So we're going to start with 1 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl. Okay? 1 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl, 2 knit, and then 2 purl. And then we've got that little bar here, which means we only do 1 knit and then a purl, and then we're going to mirror. Okay, so 1 knit. We're going to purl that slipped stitch from the last row, and then we're going to mirror. So knit, 2 purl. Knit 1, 2 purl, and then knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 1, because you can see that little bar, which means that's the slip stitch that we're going to purl, and then we're going to mirror. So we start with a purl and then 2 knit, purl, 2 knit, 2 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl, and here's that bar. So we're going to do 1 knit and then 1 purl for the slip stitch, and then 1 knit and then 2 purls, 2 knits, 2 purls, 2 knits, and 1 purl, because there's that bar for the slip stitch. Then we purl that one and knit the last 4, and you're done with your 4-row repeat. Now you're just going to repeat that 4 rows again and again and again until you've gotten the length that you want. You could make a scarf, you could make a baby blanket, you could make a dish towel, you could make a washcloth. It just depends on what you would like to make, what shape you want. So have fun with it. Make sure you keep track of your work by looking at it carefully so that you know where that diagonal goes next on each row. I hope you enjoyed learning the faux chevron knit pattern. Happy knitting!